Okay, so we know it works. Let's see if it'll do some work for us. See, it has to work harder, doesn't it?
What I love about EIE is that the kids walk out of there having a sense of, oh, that's why I need to know this.
They can connect with the world and see that everything in the world around them has been designed. From the pencil that they use, to the paint that's on the walls, to the light bulbs overhead.
They love that hands-on aspect of trying to solve the problem or meet the challenge that is presented to them.
I have a student whose mom said to me, I had a child who wanted to be an ice cream scooper and now she wants to be a mechanical engineer.
The Museum of Science in Boston wanted to help cultivate the next generation of problem solvers and innovators. They launched a program to promote engineering and technology in their exhibits and reached out to schools through their National Center for Technological Literacy. Working closely with teachers, they developed Engineering is Elementary, an inquiry-based curriculum that reinforces elementary school science concepts by engaging children in problem solving through engineering activities.
We spend about 98% of our time interacting with the human-made world. The building that we're sitting in, the chair, our clothing, are all made by engineers. But in the course of our schooling, we spend almost no time learning about how that world comes to be. We learn a lot about the natural world, but very little about the human-made world.
Most students naturally explore the world around them, but rarely in school do they have an opportunity to learn about the engineering and technology that makes it possible. What's surprising is that research suggests the earlier students are introduced to the concept of engineering, the better.
I like to say that all kids are born engineers, and we've tended to educate it out of them. They're all tinker, and they'll sit there and try to design something and solve problems and be very, very creative. But we don't capitalize upon that right now, or we weren't in elementary school.
The engineering elementary curriculum, the units, really fill in a missing piece in elementary classrooms. I like that it has a lot of group problem solving involved in it, and I think that's very realistic for what children need to do in terms of their skills, academic skills, and also social problem solving skills. So that's a tremendous strength.
Thinking like a packaging engineer is what we're talking about today.
Kristen Blake has been using Engineering is Elementary since 2005. And has noticed a change in her second grade students.
Here. Does this package communicate about the water?
I have more and more kids telling me now that they don't just want to be a professional football player or an actress or a pop star, that they're thinking about engineering as a career. They think it's cool and it's fun, and they've had exposure to some of the different types of fields of engineering and realize that it can be a very diverse field.
We were going to put 2 windows on the side so some could get in.
We have little 6-year-olds that run around and say, I'm going to be an engineer today. So like any other word in their vocabulary, if you introduce it early, it's just something that they grew up with. You don't have to demystify it later on in life.
The units are intended to fit in with things that we're already teaching. They're using readily available materials and creating challenges that kids can relate to.
Do you want to put 2 layers of it? Like one on the bottom and one on the top? Yeah.
EIE consists of 20 units that connect engineering concepts with science topics currently taught in elementary schools. At the core of the program is a simple 5-step engineering design process developed with the guidance of teachers.
When we went and met with the elementary school teachers, they told us we get 1 hand, and only 1 hand, to boil our process down to. The process that we've come up with is a cyclical process, so there's no real starting point.
We talked about how we asked, how we imagined, then we planned when we collaborated with our group, and right now we're at the 4th stage, which is create.
I typically teach 2 to 3 engineering units in the class per year, and by the time the 2nd engineering unit rolls around and the 3rd, they really become experts at using that engineering design process. And I see some carryover in other aspects of the classroom too, where they try to problem solve and improve on their work.
The curriculum is designed to encourage teachers to try a different approach in the classroom, allowing students to collaborate and discover for themselves using open-ended design challenges.
It definitely has changed the way that I've been teaching. And because of it, I myself am learning more. And I myself am allowing the other children to run the groups and to let them go and see how far they can go on their own with it.
The EIE units really work with the kids in teams. And so if one child is really good at reading, another child is really good with art, another child is really good with his or her hands, it takes the whole team and puts them all together so that each one of them feels that they have an important part.
When it's going, it's moving over to the side so it goes down. One here and one here, then put two right here.
We don't have a textbook for the children. You cannot do the program if you don't have your children engaged in the challenges. So that allows us to encourage teachers to use certain pedagogical methods, to use inquiry-based science and inquiry-based approaches, and maximize the doing and then the reflecting on what you've done.
Most importantly, the students participating in Engineering is Elementary are excited about engineering, science, and technology.
It's fun. It's fun because we get to do all the projects and get to learn about all the different kind of engineers and what they do for their job. Ready? Everyone see it? Yep.
When they're working on the design challenge and they succeed, they're just high fives. They're excited, they want to share it, they want to talk about it, and the fact that they work together to solve it makes it even more important.
Well, I think one of the great things about the EIE units is they're really, really well designed. They've gone through a lot of iterations. They've had a lot of opportunities to be tested in real-world classrooms. The Museum of Science has made an extraordinary effort to modify the units where things were unclear. And so it makes it very easy for me as an educator.
I think one of the fabulous things about this program is that the people who are writing it follow the engineering design process too and have a very defined plan to develop the units and roll out the new units, first through the pilot teachers, and then they're field tested with another group of teachers, a broader group of teachers over a larger area, and it's always evolving and always looking to improve. So it's as usable as it can be in classrooms, and it's as useful to teachers and to students as possible.
The development of the EIE curriculum is an intensive process rooted in research and classroom testing that involves a broad spectrum of students, teachers, and schools. Overall, an average EIE unit takes about 3,000 hours of staff time over 2.5 years to develop.
And the teachers' continued feedback and continued willingness to sort of help us make the project stronger is one of the things that makes, I think, our project so unique and so able to be implemented anywhere that you try it in any kind of classroom with any kind of student.
Today I'm going to read a story called Leif Catches the Wind. And this story is about an engineer who is a mechanical engineer.
Each unit of the curriculum is divided into 4 lessons and taught over 6 to 8 periods. While units are identified as either basic or advanced, most are easily adaptable to any grade level. The first lesson begins with an introductory story.
And she says, "Hi, Leif. Here I am in my new house," and she has a smiley face and a sad face. "I feel like I'm really far away from Copenhagen."
We know that children learn best if they know why they're learning something. So we decided to actually write a story where there was a young child from somewhere in the world. So there's a lot of science information and a lot of engineering information that's woven into the tapestry of the story. Ultimately, the challenge that the child in the storybook is solving is the same challenge that the kids in the class will be solving.
This is called Harboring Ideas, and this is chapter 3.
The storybooks, the kids absolutely love them. They like to see children that are their own age and the different cultures that are around the world.
Where did I put the action on my machine to make it work?
The handle.
The handle, the turning handle, right? Yeah. So where you put the action, I'm going to circle it in red.
Lesson 2 provides students with insights into what types of work an engineer in a certain field might do.
In this particular one, children were given different machinery that they would be very familiar with. There was an egg beater, stapler, scissors, some very common things that they're used to, and to think about them differently and how those gears all work, and how an engineer would have to be thinking about how to make those pieces actually move and make them more efficient. That's right, that's great. Good job.
In Lesson 3, students begin collecting data and gathering information they will need to undertake the Engineering Design Challenge in the final lesson.
Daniel, what are you circling there?
Fells and sticks, card, paper, and tissue paper.
And why do you think, Daniel, those are going to be the best?
Because they're all strong.
They're all strong. We looked at the materials first, put them on a table, gave them all a little sample of them, and they were talking about the properties. Some of the qualities of the materials that they were actually going to be using. And then we actually made some sails that would go across using the energy of the fan.
When you're working with little kids, they don't have 12 or 15 or 20 years of schooling like many engineers. So we spend Lesson 3 helping the kids to learn more about the materials and the science behind them so they can apply that to Lesson 4.
This will be your pretend windmill, or turbine, and you're going to put the hub on here.
The 3 previous lessons all build to the 4th and final one, where students are given an opportunity to work in teams and to design their own solution to the engineering challenge first presented in the storybook.
Yeah, but I think you're putting it too close together. There's going to be a big gap over here.
We actually write the units backwards. So there are 4 lessons, and each of the engineering is elementary units. They're structured around the backbone of the lesson number 4, which is the lesson in which the children actually go through the 5 steps of the engineering design process, sometimes starting with ask and trying to figure out what the problem and parameters are. And in some cases, they actually start with improve. So there's a technology or a solution is given, and they need to figure out how to make it better.
Wow. Wow. Yes, put a smile on it.
The Engineering Design Challenge integrates really well because the children actually get to use all of the information that they've learned over the year and then incorporate all of that schema that they have and add on to it and actually get some hands-on experiences to solve a problem. And what else did you do so it would catch the wind?
We bent the tin foil on all the edges so the wind couldn't go out that way, that way, that way, or that way.
What I love most about the EIE curriculum is that it connects so smoothly into all the other science curriculum that I'm required to teach, that it's so easy and accessible for me.
The philosophy in our case is that every child can engineer. So we like to say that everyone engineers. And we've really spent a lot of time making sure that the materials that we developed can be used by any kid in elementary school. We are particularly committed as a staff to working with the underserved and those who are underrepresented in engineering, whether those are females, whether they're students of color, whether they're children with disabilities.
I can certainly think of one student who was a special needs student who had been having a very difficult time academically, but had come up with sort of a winning design, and that design was then shown in the local newspaper, and that student felt very proud, and his family also felt incredibly proud of him.
Research studies of the EIE program indicate that children of all abilities can successfully engage with and learn from the curriculum. EIE not only bolsters children's understanding of engineering and technology, but also related science concepts. By 2009, over 1 million students have participated in Engineering is Elementary, and that number will continue to grow as the curriculum is implemented nationwide.
This year we probably reached 4 times as many students as last year, and we don't see any signs of slowing down. So we anticipate there'll be very, very rapid growth, particularly because increasingly states are starting to introduce engineering into their standards and frameworks.
Engineering is a new subject for many teachers, so professional development programs are available to support teachers in implementing the EIE units.
For my summer teacher workshop about engineering as elementary curriculum, I learned so much about engineering as a field, and I myself became so enthusiastic about it. I didn't know a lot about engineering before. I thought it was a little bit more mythical, like something where you really had to be an expert in math to be able to do.
In addition to running workshops for teachers, the EIE program has adopted a train-the-trainer model to provide for the professional development needs of teachers. By establishing regional hub sites across the United States, trained teacher educators offer EIE workshops and support classroom implementation.
My hope is in the future that we'll have a number of the hub partners in every state. So we'll have a place that's offering professional development, that teachers will have the resources that they need, and that will continue to grow to reach millions of children and hundreds of thousands of teachers across the country.
Engineering as Elementary's true success has been with the students themselves, who are engaged with the material and excited to learn. Given the opportunity to apply their creativity and innovation, students become problem solvers, developing original solutions to real-world challenges.
I have a parent who said to me, "When did you teach such and such?" Because I heard about it all the way home in my car ride. That's the reward I get. I see the smiles in the classroom, but when they carry that home and they are so excited about what it is that they've learned at school, then that's the best payoff.
There is nothing better than seeing a kid walk out of my room excited about learning and excited about science, and the kid that never does the extra credit projects is running home so that he can do the extension activities, and getting a phone call from mom and dad and saying, "I don't know what you did, but my kid loves engineering."